All right, and now section 3, capturing the best bookings. So a decent bet is that bookings make up the vast majority of your revenue, right? And where some people derive a little bit of ancillary revenue from early check-ins, late checkouts, or other guest fees, in general, bookings make up a huge percentage of revenue in our category, which means it's no surprise that it is extremely important to capture the right bookings. Now, there are a number of things that kind of impact our ability to get the best bookings. We actually all know that not all bookings are created equal either, right? So an $800 booking does not necessarily equal another $800 booking. And by that, I mean, there could be things that lower the value of booking A versus booking B. And let's see a few of those. So the first revenue reducer that I'm sure you're aware of are channel fees, right? And channel fees are what we pay every channel when they bring us business. And whereas we probably don't like paying channel fees, the reality is that selling on more channels is a definitively good strategy for increasing revenue, right? We've been able to see it across all sorts of data, but you want to be selling on many channels. And if we can help you with distribution strategy, please reach out to us. We're happy to talk more about it. Now, the second revenue reducer is your cancellations, right? So when guests decide to cancel a week or 2 weeks or even 3 weeks, sometimes before a stay date, those rooms can be really hard to sell, right? So cancellations can really impact your revenue. Now, the interesting thing that we've seen is that cancellation rates vary a lot by channel, right? We see some channels where the cancellation rate is basically non-existent, and we see some channels where the cancellation rate is north of 10%. So our recommendation on how to handle this is actually to set cancellation policies by channel. Usually on channels, you can have what's known as a strict, moderate, or relaxed cancellation policy, flexible cancellation policy, right? And we would say that if you have a channel near you that has a low cancellation rate, set the cancellation policy to flexible. And if you see a lot of cancellations on another channel, set it to the most strict. That is a revenue maximizing strategy. Again, we've been able to A/B test that, and we know that to be the case. Now, the third thing, and this is totally in your control. The number 3 revenue reducer, but probably the biggest one of them all, is accepting bad bookings, right? So what is a bad booking? Let's say that this was an event week, okay? And it was a big event that stretched over 7 days. And let's say that 6 weeks before, or 6 months, I should say, you got a 2-day booking on Thursday and Friday. Well, I would say that this is a bad booking, right? It's going to cost you a lot of revenue because a lot of people were coming to search for that 7-day stretch of time where they could come stay at your place. And now these smaller slices of inventory are a lot harder to sell it, particularly because Saturday and Sunday nights, an unlikely booking, as is a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So this booking actually costs you a lot of revenue, which is why the last skill we want to share with you today, but arguably the most important, is what we call calendar guardian, right? And the definition of this is leveraging length of stay and lead time. Remember, we learned lead time in just the earlier section in order to create dynamic minimum stays that help you avoid bad bookings and capture the best bookings. Again, we're going to go to our market report, our free market report, to learn a little bit more.
To prevent breaks, one of the best tools you can use is minimum stays. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to click over to our historical tab, and we're going to go down to the distribution curve section, and we're going to look at our length of stay in our market. We're going to go to last month, and we're going to see that right now in our market, the average length of stay, these bars show the average length of stay. So in this case, 9% of all stays were 4 or 5 nights. But you can see that 54.3% of all the cumulative stays were less than 5 nights. That means that about 46% of all stays were more than 5 nights. Now, we can take that information for your market and we can go look at that applied to a listing. So here, in this case, we're going to go to our strategy section and we're going to go to our min stays and we're going to set a global minimum stay of 5 nights. We're going to toggle this. This gap nights functionality means if a 4-night block of days emerges, Wheelhouse will automatically adjust that min stay. Now, We could set whatever controls we want on a single day as well, but then we're going to we're going to add an adjustment here. So we're going to say 30 days out, our min stay is going to drop to 3 nights. And then let's say 15 days out, we're going to drop it to a 2-night min stay. Whatever you want, you're fully in control. And this button down here actually allows us to go set minimum stays for a particular date range. So what we can do is we can take our average length of stay in market. We can set a global minimum that's close to that if we want. And then we can make adjustments as stay dates approach. And this is how you avoid calendar breaks.
Excellent. So again, we went into the market reports. We looked at those distribution curves, which I recognize they're a little more complicated than some other charts we have, but they're really, really powerful. And getting this right, getting your dynamic minimum stays right, means that you can protect your calendar in the far future and still capture the best bookings based on how your market and how your inventory type books. It's really, really powerful. And of course, you can actually do all this, all these settings. So everything we've talked about today, from weekend settings to min stays, etc., you can make all those adjustments on the portfolio level all at the same time, right? You can select any number of properties and adjust their min stays, etc., all at once. A super powerful way to update your entire portfolio in a matter of seconds. Now, let's talk about automating minimum stays. But the thing I want to note is minimum stays, dynamic minimum stays without automation are really a little bit hamstrung, right? So you kind of have to automate. But if you do automate, Wheelhouse can evaluate your calendar after every booking or every single night. And we can see when new kind of small blocks of time have emerged that might violate your minimum stay requirements. And we can actually automatically adjust those that night, the minimum stay for that small set of nights. We can automatically adjust it to be the right new minimum stay. Also, like we saw, that temporal thing, so maybe 30 days out, you want to lower your minimum stay to 3 or 2 nights, whatever it may be. Well, that adjustment requires automation. So let's just see quickly how we do this for you.
The best way to leverage Wheelhouse's dynamic minimum stays is to automate your pricing calendar. And the reason for that, there's a couple reasons for that. First, let's imagine we had set our global minimum stay to 5 nights. This means every night on our calendar is going to have a 5-night minimum stay. Now, should 2 bookings emerge where there's 3 nights between those bookings, those nights would usually still have a 5-night minimum stay. However, if you toggle on gap nights, Wheelhouse will evaluate your calendar after every single booking and every single night and find those periods that are less than your minimum stay settings and adjust the minimum stays automatically on those days. It's super powerful. Also, should we set a time-based minimum stay, so maybe 30 days out, we want to lower your min stay to 4 nights, and 15 days out, we want to lower your min stay to 3 nights. Well, to make those adjustments based on time, Wheelhouse has to have permission to go and update your calendar. So if you automate in conjunction with minimum stays, you'll save time and you'll earn a lot more revenue. We think it's a really powerful tool.
Great. So I recognize a little bit redundant, but so important. We want to make sure that we hit on it a few times for you. Now, if you want to go read more about dynamic minimum stays and how they can be applied to your portfolio, of course, in our blog, you can go read a whole lot more at this link.